but there's a lot of luck involved. We'll see what happens.
Okay, guys, let's move to running backs here. First of all, I just want to mention, this is a very fantasy worthy story. Josh Jacobs, and I want to hear from the audience about this. He faked out the fantasy community. Now, people have said all the time, it's not cool to like root against real life players like it with health and things like that for fantasy. That's totally true. But should a real life football player fake out the entire fantasy community?
Andrew, what do you think about that?
No, it was cruel. I mean, I'm sure I saw, my colleague at Fantasy Pros, Mike Tagliere, said he lost some fans with that act right there. I mean, he did put, I will say he did put laughing emojis next to it. So there was a little hint there that he was trolling everybody, but we all just need to respect each other in our society. That's the thing that's sometimes really lacking. And, we got to respect the players, and the players got to respect the fans. I mean, fantasy football is a huge business, and it really helps the NFL financially a lot.
I agree. And this is the same guy that said, listen, don't pay my bonus until I'm in Nevada and playing for Las Vegas. So I have to pay the state tax. So he foregoed his bonus because he was playing in California. So when he got his bonus, he was in Nevada, so he didn't have to pay the 8% state tax. They have no state tax. So this is the same guy. So this is the stuff I kind of think he's up to. That's why he's never going to be drafted on the boss's team.
Oh, see, that's where I differ with you. I don't care if I don't like him. I'll gladly put him on my team.
He's off the team.
Win.
Nope, can't root for him.
You're going to get
Dr. Dan Ratner. We'll never draft him ever again. You heard it from me first.
I won't, but I probably won't. But because I don't want to get faked out like that. That's a headache.
No, it's really rude.
You can get him at a value.
I don't think that's going to happen every week or even every
season.
Take
him, Andrew. We'll play you next year, and you'll see how well
give me good value on him. I'll take him in the second round or something.
But good luck. Okay.
Let's talk about running backs that are actually available, since he's not, and Devontae Booker is useless when Jacobs plays. So this week, I did not see a ton on the wire to go grab, but what I did see is some backup running backs with great schedules. So those are some of the players that I'm looking at, because these could be difference makers. Take, for instance, Deontay Foreman. Derrick Henry, he's running away with that job for good reason, but their schedule's good. Their running game is good. He's somebody you might want to stash on the back end if you're not playing keep away defense or that.
Well, Dan, I mentioned him a few weeks ago, but I've actually kind of soured on him as a stash a little bit because he was inactive this last game. And actually Darrington Evans, the rookie, was activated off IR, but he was also inactive. So McNichols was the only backup running back that played. And I just think it's gotten muddy in terms of what would happen if Henry got hurt. I no longer feel as confident that Foreman would get the bulk of the work.
Fair point. But the point I'm making generally is still true. A guy like Boston Scott, for example, Philadelphia's got a great schedule too. If Sanders goes down, Scott is going to be useful. Yeah. You got to think about how to use your roster spots.
I agree. Although I do want to speak to the people that actually need a starting running back for this weekend. Believe me, that can exist. In my redraft league I'm in, I was very excited going into the playoffs with it was going to be my 3 Gs backfield: Wayne Gallman, Myles Gaskin, and Antonio Gibson. And now I'm down to 1 G. So I'm looking for running backs. And there's a few guys I think might be useful this week.
Okay, who are they, Andrew? I'm so curious to see what great running backs are out on the waiver wire.
I wouldn't call them. I didn't say the word great. That's your word, Ross. That's your word.
I know, but
I they're serviceable running backs.
My opinion for this week is if you need a running back under 50% in most Yahoo leagues,
just quit. Just
pick up Pollard or pick up some backup that's going to get you 2 points. You're not going to pick up anybody this week.
All right. Well, here's the thing. So I think DeAndre Washington is probably going to get another start because Myles Gaskin wasn't just a close contact. He actually tested positive for COVID, which means he's probably missing 2 games, not 1. And then Jeff Wilson, he split the snaps almost right down the middle with Raheem Mostert, and Jerick McKinnon didn't play at all. So that's a productive running game. So if you get 50% of the snaps in that running game, that can pay off, especially when you're playing Dallas, which is who they're playing this coming week. So I think he's an interesting pickup.
I had Wilson as my one also. Gaskin, I think is coming back. You did too? I was reading articles about Gaskin could be coming back, but maybe I'm wrong. But that's.
I hope you're right. I would.
That's something to watch on Saturday, folks. If you have Gaskin, you should definitely watch television or watch the internet and see if he's playing on Sunday.
Let's ask the audience. I want to hear what the audience put it in the comments, guys. What you think about Jeff Wilson? Remember, he had this one game, it was like a 3 touchdown game with like 150 yards. That's a big time running offense, and he's already getting half of it. So let's hear your comments.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Andrew?
Oh, well, so there's one other guy that I feel like this flew under the radar a little bit. Like I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this. But in the Thursday night game, the Patriots running back Damian Harris actually left the game towards the end of that game with I think it was a back injury. So I'm not exactly sure what his status is. But if he doesn't play, Sony Michel then becomes interesting. So because James White is a passing down only guy, their other backup running back JJ Taylor, the rookie, is also a passing game guy. So I think Sony Michel, again, the touchdown upside's limited because Cam Newton hogs all that stuff, but maybe they switch to Stidham or something. I don't know. I feel like Sony Michel would get at least 15 carries or something if Damian Harris was out.
Ross, who are we missing? Who have we not touched on?
I think we covered it. I think if you got to pick up a running back this week, I just think you're not going to do well.
Well, let me throw out one other name.
I think Andrew had some great ideas, but I don't. Who knows?
I got more too, but I'm going to let Dan give his first.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Well, let's finish up on this. I'm not saying this is a great idea, but it's not a bad desperation play, I think, to grab Carlos Hyde. He got a fair amount of carries. He often scores touchdowns when he gets enough carries. I'm not saying I'm thrilled with it, but if you've got nobody, you could do worse.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they're easing Carson back in. They haven't really given him a full workload, although last week might have been a little misleading because they were up so big over the Jets. They pulled all their starters at the end of the third quarter.
I mean, it's hard to trust stats after you play the Jets.
I want to mention a guy on Ross's Bengals there, Trayvon Williams, is looking like he might end up being the Bengals running back. I wouldn't use him this coming week, but if you stashed him, it's possible that in week 16 that he would be serviceable if you're looking deep. And then
they're playing Pittsburgh on Monday night,
rookie.
so they're playing Pittsburgh Monday night, so that's not a great.
Yeah, no, you're not playing him this week. No.
Don't start him. Should we talk about wide receivers now?
Let's talk about wide receivers. There's one in a class by himself, and we'll go to Ross. I'm sure you're going to say the same one.
So I got 3. I got Nelson Aguilar. I got Patrick for the Broncos, and my first one is Gabriel Davis. Is that his name?
I love Gabriel Davis.
For the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I think this kid is like the real deal. I think he's going to be like a big name someday. He looked great. I watched him play yesterday. He's probably my number 1 is Gabriel Davis. He's only in like 10% of the leagues. He's barely picked. I mean, no one really picked him up, but he's been like tearing it up. Like the past 3 weeks, he's been on fire.
No, I mean, he only had 19 yards.
But he had a touchdown, didn't he?
He did.
True, but he
scored in 3 straight games. He does.
Also, he had one long
John
catch.
Brown's coming.
He's been doing well. I think this kid is great. I'd like Patrick for the Broncos. I think he's been great. I mean, Drew Locke had the game of his life on Sunday. I don't know if you guys saw that. I mean, he had 4 touchdown passes. That's unbelievable. Drew Locke.
Yeah.
Drew Locke, 4 touchdown passes. Did anybody
Ross,
start him?
I'm going to give you credit for 2 out of 3 there. I think that Aguilar and Patrick, they're the Rodney Dangerfields of
I really
fantasy
like
receivers. They don't get no respect. Those guys have both been top 30 fantasy receivers over the last 10 weeks, which is a long time to be top 30 fantasy receivers. So those guys are not flash in the pan. They've proven their value as wide receiver 3 type players. My problem with Gabriel Davis is that John Brown was just activated off IR and he's coming back. It sounds like he's going to be back this week. And Gabriel Davis has been playing the John Brown role in that offense. So I think his snaps might completely evaporate. They're a playoff team. They're going to go with their veteran players. I love Gabriel Davis's talent. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great dynasty player to have. I just wouldn't feel comfortable putting him in my lineup if John Brown's active.
Is there anybody else I missed? I said Patrick.
Well, I just wanted to say, I agree with you both. I think Gabriel Davis is a really good player, and he could steal that job from John Brown outright. Because, I mean, if you watched the game, he had a long pass. He just didn't get his feet in bounds for it. If he had gotten that in bounds, his stats would look a lot better. So I see both points. Patrick has been great. Aguilar has been great. Those were the top guys on my list. What percentage owned is Kiki Kuti? I know he had a bad week.
Yeah, he's only 45%. I had him ahead of Gabriel Davis.
I do too. He still has a great opportunity. And T.Y. Hilton, where's his ownership?
Oh, he's over 70%.
He's over, now. Yeah. He because Ross the Boss had him on his list last week, and everybody else said it was just a fluke. His stock went up like crazy on Yahoo. Yeah. And
now, Ross, I did not say it was a fluke. And
okay,
Andrew
I think it was maybe it was the other host on the show wearing the hat.
What did I say? Remind me again.
T.Y. Hilton. It was just
I didn't say. I said that T.Y. Hilton can always turn at any given game. He can have a huge game or turn into a pumpkin.
To talk about T.Y. Hilton real quick, I know he's over. He's a lot now. He, I think Rivers finally figured out how to play with him and how to get the ball to him. So I think T.Y. is going to end the year as I'm going
to put him in my lineup in one league next week. But let's talk about some guys people can still pick up, because I don't think many people in competitive leagues can get him right now. I like if we're going a little deeper than the guys we mentioned, Russell Gage. I mean, Julio Jones, it sounds like is going to get shut down. So Russell Gage is the number 2 receiver in Atlanta. He's going to get volume. It's a sneaky play. Another guy that's really sneaky play is James Washington, who, believe it or not, played more snaps, not only than Chase Claypool, which he's now done 2 weeks in a row, but he played more snaps than Deontay Johnson too, because he's got stone hands and keeps dropping the ball. He got benched. So, that team cannot run the ball. They're using short passing as their running game. They're going out of like 4 wide all the time. I actually think James Washington,
Deion Johnson. His hands of stone. Yeah. He's the Roberto Duran of football.
But James Washington actually led the Steelers in receiving last season. He's a talented player. It's a pass first, second, and third offense. So he's kind of a sneaky option too.
That's a great pick, Andrew. I like that one.
Now, I will say, I mean, I know T.Y. Hilton is owned in 72% of leagues, and we really shouldn't be talking about him in the waiver wire show, but I've had horror stories. He always beats me, and I have to vent about this. I picked him up in the league I'm in with Andrew just so that no one else would have him. And then I was like, but then I'm going to be tempted to play it. And then I cut him, and then he exploded,
you idiot.
And somebody else picked him up. And it's a team that's going to beat me in the championship, I'm sure. Because
the Colts are playing some really bad teams coming up too, so it could be a good start if you do have him. I suggest you start him because he's one of the hottest receivers right now. He's on a tear, and Rivers is finally figuring out how to throw to him. So, T.Y. Hilton owners, start T.Y. Hilton. Time to start him.
Yep.
Should we talk tight ends, or is it too soon?
Let's talk tight ends. I'll
just say it. Logan Thomas. I'll just say it so Andrew says how bad he is.
MVP.
Well, he did what I told you he was going to do, Ross. He went back to 43 yards.
He did. I'm teasing you. We always talk about Logan Thomas.
43 yards. 43.
I know that's probably like a top 15 tight end. Yeah.
I mean, this Travis 10. Kelce guy for Kansas City. He's the guy you should pick up. Whatever you do, pick him up in your league. I'm sure he's available. He's available in 98% of the leagues. Pick him up now, or you'll probably lose your league. What do you guys think?
Ross is a time traveler. This is happening in 8 years when Travis Kelce's career is over. But yes, if you can pick up Travis Kelce somehow, please do. I mean, it's really, tight end is one of those things where you just you're throwing in somebody.
I've got three young tight ends.
Okay, go.
I'm excited about. Andrew. I'm excited about them genuinely.
Go.
One of them I've been talking about almost all season, and that's Irv Smith. I love Irv Smith. He's such a good player. All he needs is a chance. And Kyle Rudolph has just been this thorn in his side, blocking his opportunity. But Rudolph was out last week, and Irv Smith had a great game. I don't know Rudolph's status. I think he might miss another game. And if that's the case, I think I'll be ranking Irv Smith in my top 12 tight ends for this week.
Top 12, wow.
Yeah. And then Cole Kmet, who I talked about last week.
He's on my list.
Most talented rookie tight end in last year's class.
You don't have to sell me. I
and
agree.
They have made a commitment to him.
I love the name too.
So he's a player to go for upside. And then last one I'm going to go with is playing tonight. We'll have to see how he actually does. But Harrison Bryant with the Browns was really effective earlier in the season when Austin Hooper was out. And Austin Hooper is out this week. He might be out next week too. So I think Harrison Bryant is a sneaky play.
Those are three great picks.
I want to take a pause for a sec. I want to take a pause for a sec for our new viewers. I want to make sure that they hit subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. That way you won't miss anything. Ross, I didn't mean to cut you off. Who do you have? Who have we missed so far?
Andrew really covered on tight ends. Again, it's if you look at the tight ends that are under 50%, it's the same names. There's nobody stands out. If you don't have a tight end this week, just pick up somebody Andrew said. I totally agree with his picks. I don't have anybody new to add. But if you have something new to add, make sure you comment right now on and tell us who you like, right?
If you want to go real deep, you can add Dan Arnold with the Cardinals. He's got 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He's just a complete tight end or bust, though. That tight end is not a huge part of that offense, and they have not been. Kyler Murray's been struggling lately, but Arnold has been finding a way into the end zone.
He's been scoring. I've been watching that. I've been watching the Cardinals too, and Murray's not been playing that great. I don't know if I would start him if I had him in fantasy in the playoffs, which I don't. So
no, take all my young guys I mentioned first. He's like,
Murray's somebody. His stock was up here, then it leveled, and now it's on its way down. So he's somebody else.
You know who's going to be really mad about that, Ross? So early in the season, Casey, our friend Casey Scheinvold,
we love that guy.
Asked me if he should deal Kyler Murray in Dynasty League, and I was like, listen, no, don't do it. Now, I can't even remember what the deal was for. It was for Dak Prescott and like a number 1 pick or something. Maybe
he asked me my opinion about that. I think I told him to do it.
Interesting. I told him not
because I love Dak Prescott. So
you're a big Dak guy. Dak had unbelievable stats. If Dak did not get hurt this year, he probably would have broke the record for the most yards passing in a season. I mean, his pace was unbelievable. It was like over 400 yards. It was like Dan Fouts numbers. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a much better passer than Kyler Murray is right now. I mean, Kyler is still young, but
he's night and day.
Great.
You're 100% right.
I mean,
plus he's not.
Let's all be clear. Dak is he's the complete deal, whether he plays in Dallas or New England or wherever.
New England.
Right.
Yeah.
How about the defenses that you want to stream this week? Now I'm sitting pretty with defense. Of course I say that, but who knows? But I have the Rams this week, and they're playing the Jets. So
yeah, that's about as good as it possibly gets.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
But who are some streaming matchups since the Rams won't be available?
Yeah, I mean, I think defenses. A lot of people stream defenses, so that's a part of the game that's really still important as you're in the fantasy playoffs. I like the Browns. They're right at 50%. They're playing the Giants. That's a train wreck of an offense. They were terrible last week against the Cardinals. I think they gave up 8 sacks, and Daniel Jones just looked completely lost back there. So that's a great matchup. I like the Vikings a lot. They're playing against the Bears, who Mitchell Trubisky's been doing well lately, but if you look at it, his career numbers against Mike Zimmer's defense are terrible. He's played 6 games against the Vikings with Mike Zimmer, 2 touchdowns in 6 games and 3 interceptions.
Wow.
So I think that's a great streaming.
That's a great matchup. Well. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I also like Arizona's playing Philadelphia. I know that we all loved Hurts, but he's going to fumble. He's going to intercept. He'll have some turnovers. Zona's defense looked really good last week. We'll see what happens. The other great start I love. I love Philadelphia. I love not Philadelphia, but I love the Tennessee Titans are playing the Detroit Lions. I love Tennessee. I love Tennessee. It's in Tennessee. I feel Detroit's going to turn the ball over a lot too. So those are 2 starts that are under 50% if you need to start a defense.
I personally don't. I think the Titans defense is just atrociously bad. So I actually don't love that if Stafford plays, but Stafford is questionable for that game.
He is questionable.
If it's Chase Daniel, I would definitely go for it.
Yeah, but remember, I'm talking about defenses under. It was tough to find a defense.
Well, there's another one I thought you were going to mention because I'm taking my cues from you on this one. When you and Rich Davis got the pick 'em wrong on the Patriots Chargers game, you mentioned that you should have realized that Belichick always has rookie quarterbacks numbers. Well, guess what? The Patriots get a rookie quarterback this week in Tua Tagovailoa. So I think the Patriots defense is a sneaky option as well.
Were they over 50%, Andrew?
No,
or were
they're
they
under?
They were okay.
Under.
Yeah.
That totally
Okay.
got me there. It's good. So let's the Patriots
listed
Patriots I love too. So Patriots, I like Tennessee. Andrew doesn't. And then the other one is Arizona, who's playing Philadelphia, just because Ertz is
give me the
playing
Browns
away.
and the Vikings.
Yeah, Ertz is playing away.
Browns and Vikings are my top two, but I did have the Titans. I know they're a bad defense, but the Lions, especially if Stafford's out.
Yeah, in Tennessee.
Yeah, but if Stafford plays and DeAndre Swift is healthy, that team can put up some points.
Okay, see what happens.
All right, let's talk kicker.
As I was saying, the NFL this week was the worst week I've ever seen with kickers. I mean, the kicker Bailey for Minnesota, which I'll talk about later in the week, he had 3 attempts for field goals. It's 0 for 3. He missed his extra point, so it was 0 for 4. So that's 10 points that he missed for his team. And they interviewed the coach after the game, and they asked him his status, and he said, "We'll see what happens." I don't know if he was cut yet, but he should definitely be cut from the team after that performance, because they needed that game in Tampa Bay. And I've never seen so many missed kicks in my life this week. I don't know what's going on, but
yeah, you know that like people say, I'm old enough to remember that meme. Like I texted a friend when Bailey missed one of those kicks. I said, I'm old enough to remember when Dan Bailey was a good kicker.
With the Cowboys, remember for the Cowboys? He was really good.
Yeah.
But this week with kickers, I still like my favorite kicker right now. It was Jason Sanders. I'm switching to Tyler Bass for Buffalo. I think he's been so consistent this year. I've been looking at his stats, and he's been around 10, 12 points a game. He's been great. So I dropped Lutz last week, and I picked up Taylor Bass just because I feel Lutz is a putz. So,
well, Tyler Bass has been fantastic.
He's been great. And he's like under 20. He's like still like 20-30%.
Yeah. He's my number one too. He's actually been the 3rd best kicker all season now.
Yeah.
And he's got a great matchup. I mean, Denver, they're going to be up big. They're going to be kicking field goals in the second half. It's in Denver, so it's in the thin air. So he can probably get an extra 5-yard distance on his kicks too.
That's somebody you could pick up. You could pick up easily on Yahoo, but you should also subscribe to our page right now. Just press the bell. You can subscribe and hear all our shows. Right. It'd be great.
You can't pick it up on Yahoo, but you can pick it up on YouTube.
There you go.
And you're already here. So just, click the bell. You're right there. Yeah, I agree. It's amazing to me that the 3rd best kicker in the sport this year, and we're in week 4. We're heading into week 15.
Yeah,
that's like some Buffalo Bills discount. So I don't know why people aren't buying into him, but I
just think kickers, people, if they have a kicker that's on a good team and that they've had all season, a lot of people just rest on their laurels and just be like, oh, they're fine. People don't like to switch their kicker. They just set it and forget it. But I don't believe in that.
Yeah, but after this week with all the missed kicks, you'll see a lot of action in the kickers. You'll see a lot of stuff going
drops.
On.
Yeah,
a lot of drops.
Well, the kicker who's 6th in points is also widely available, and we've mentioned him on the show a bunch. Ryan Suckup with the Bucks. They also have a phenomenal matchup against the Falcons. They're big favorites, and there should be a lot of points scored in that game.
Suck up, Andrew. You always pick Suck up.
Well, that's a good guy to pick. He's 6th in
he's good. You're right.
Points for kickers.
And he kicks in Tampa Bay, which is a beautiful place to kick, as we know.
You can enjoy the fine weather, the nice breeze while you kick.
It is true. I mean, that's the one thing about Bass. You're picking up a Buffalo kicker. You could, if he's kicking at home. I actually don't know what their matchups are, but we'll have to see. All right, let's move on to my favorite part.
What is it?
Who do you cut?
Who's
been bugging you all year, and you're like, maybe I should hold on to him, or maybe you think that somebody has value, but we're gonna give you some names to drop that are. It's time to drop them. Let's start with the quarterbacks.
Okay.
Quarterbacks is pretty easy to cut, some back end guys, but there's one guy I have in mind that has not been on my list at all. You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it. Who you go first? Who is it?
It's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins he has been great this year. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I think he's kind of worn out his use because his matchups now are not ideal. I'm not saying you can't start him, but I wouldn't love to be starting him right now.
I hear you. There's 2 reasons that I wouldn't. Well, first of all, big picture. I've said this before. We're in the fantasy playoffs, and any player that you wouldn't start on your team and that wouldn't help your opponent's team against you, is fair game to cut. So if you have a great quarterback and you don't need Kirk Cousins, by all means, and your opponent has a great quarterback, by all means, kick him to the curb. But that being said, if you are streaming quarterbacks, he is at home, and his home road splits this season are completely insane. He's thrown for 3 touchdowns, and I think almost every single home game he's had. There might be one where he didn't. And the other thing is that Bears defense has really fallen apart. I mean, that I picked them up in one of my leagues a few weeks ago, hoping I could ride them through the end of the season, and I cut them because they were so bad. I mean, they've had injuries, but I mean, they're just giving up tons of points right now. They've given up over 30 points. I mean, last week was different because Watson was, all by himself there, but the 2 previous weeks they gave up well over 30
I still believe in Kirk Cousins. I don't know if I would start him unless I needed to. It just depends who's on my team. But I've been talking about Kirk Cousins the past 5 weeks in a row to pick him up. Now he's over 50% because I talked. But all that being said, I still have faith in Kirk Cousins. I still think he's a good start. But if Dan wants to cut him, you can cut him. Go ahead.
Well, the guy I've been talking about cutting for over a month is even more cuttable now, and that's Matt Ryan. I mean, God,
that's who I have on my list.
He's had so many terrible games this season. He's had a few really great games, but especially with Julio Jones out, he's unplayable. I mean, he's completely.
And they play Tampa Bay, Kansas City, then Tampa Bay again. So they play Tampa Bay
that's
2 out of 3 times, which is
but that is the thing for me. If I'm looking, I mean, matchups shouldn't determine everything, but if you're looking to stream a guy and you've got other options out there, why would you stream Matt Ryan, who's been playing poorly and has bad matchups? It's just
I mean, Matt Ryan. If you're starting Matt Ryan, just kiss your season goodbye. You're not going to win the championship.
Just like the Falcons have.
You should. He's in 82% of the league. Still have him on their team, which is unbelievable to me. Another guy that's 64%, which I'm shocked, is Cam Newton. I don't know who would keep Cam Newton on their team after these performances the past couple of weeks. But if you're keeping Cam Newton, don't keep him. Just waive him. You don't need him on your team. If you're starting Cam Newton, pick up Hurts. Pick up anybody else but Cam Newton. Cam Newton's confidence is down here. Hurts' confidence is up here.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like Cam Newton has basically he and Matt Ryan have basically had similar seasons. They've just done it in completely different ways. I mean, Matt Ryan never runs; he's pass all the time, and Cam Newton can't pass, and he's running it all the time. But they both are just wildly inconsistent. They have these huge blow up games, and then they have these games where they're like literally the single worst quarterback in the entire league. And if you start them, you automatically lose. So
okay,
Let's hear from the audience about who of the 3 quarterbacks we mentioned should be cut. So we got Kirk Cousins from me. We got Matt Ryan from Andrew. We got Cam Newton from Ross. I've certainly supported both of those. Cousins, I've been saying to pick up the whole time. Now I think he's on the downside, but let's hear your comments. Let's move on to running backs as Ross was about to do. I've got a couple in mind, but I'll hold off. Ross, you were about to get started, so go ahead.
So running backs, this guy just got COVID last week. I did like him before the COVID, but it's David Johnson. David Johnson, if you have him, he's not going to, I don't know if he's playing next week, but
I think he's going to be back.
But hopefully you have some other buddy on the bench you can start at flex or something else. Who knows? But David Johnson for me is not a great start the next few weeks. They have a tough schedule. I would waive him if you can, if you have anybody else on your bench, but if you have to start him, start him.
Yeah. I mean, like I wouldn't cut David Johnson personally, but again, like if you don't need to start him and your opponent's not going to start him, I don't have a big problem with it. I just think there's other guys I would much more happy to cut. Well, Giovanni Bernard is not even the starter for the Bengals anymore, so that's an easy one. And Joe Mixon is not coming back, so that's an easy one. I mean, those are
but Mixon's on the IR. That doesn't count.
Well, I mean, so people have been holding on to him thinking he's going to come back.
Bernard's been awful the past few weeks.
Right. The Bengals coach has been really misleading with injuries. He did the same thing last season with AJ Green. Like all season, he's like, he's going to be back in a couple weeks, and then he never played. And then Duke Johnson is actually the Texans running back I would drop.
Yeah, exactly. What I was going to say is if you're going to drop David Johnson, drop Duke Johnson. He's a 62% owned. I also will say Darrell Henderson, 70% owned. Cam Akers, I'm pretty sure is gone with that job. So it's time to move on from him.
It's looking that way, yeah. And then I've been talking about James White forever. I've said on the show, I don't really love dropping the backups who are one injury away from being a bell cow, but I would be okay with maybe dropping Devin Singletary as well at this point. And then if you really need a drop, I think it's all over for Todd Gurley. I mean, they're like splitting those carries 3 ways right now. And Brian Hill and Ito Smith aren't even good. So that just shows you that Gurley's knee is not healthy. He's on the downside of his career. And it's one of those situations where even if he was getting 15 to 20 carries, he wouldn't be doing a whole lot with it.
What do you think about dropping Devin Cook?
Well, Devin Cook you can drop because he's not even a real player.
Yeah, but Dalvin Cook
you should
don't
drop. What about Dalvin Cook?
Don't drop it. See, that's a Ross joke. Well, I told you. Okay, let's move to wide receivers that you can cut. I said this guy last week, but I'm now certain about it. It's time for CeeDee Lamb to go. If you're not in a keeper or a dynasty league, he has been completely worthless for 7 straight weeks. He's driving a lot of people crazy. Cut him now. All right. Anybody else?
I won't argue that. I have him on my list too.
I have him on my list too. I would cut. I know you guys are going to look at me like I'm crazy, but he hasn't done anything like the past few weeks. And they just have so many receivers and so many weapons in Tampa Bay is Chris Godwin. I just feel that people have him always had him in the top 10 list and he never does anything. It's always like Evans or it's even Scotty Miller, but Chris Godwin's Gronk, but it's been like Godwin's been invisible. I mean, just cut him. You don't have to start him anymore. You just got rid of a player that you don't have to start. It's a great move. Listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. What do you guys think?
Well, I have a different Buccaneer on my list, Antonio Brown. I still have him stashed in one league, and I dropped him in the other one. It really depends on the depth of.
He's really not the same anymore. He's not the same elite receiver. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, the way they're using him,
we know the real story. The real story is that he came into Andrew's house and misbehaved. He did all kinds of horrible things, and now Andrew's cutting him. It's what happens with Antonio Brown. But I will say. And I'd love to hear in the comments whether people, Ross has a lot of good takes like this that people in the comments should comment on. Should we cut Chris Godwin? I say no, because even if you're not going to play him, you don't want somebody picking up Chris Godwin. That's giving people.
You want them to pick him up because let them start him and let them get the 0 points.
Okay, guys, you know what?
I'm with you, Dan.
I'm going to make an executive decision and say we're not even going to talk about tight ends to cut because tight ends suck. They suck. They're driving us all crazy.
Just cut Zach Ertz, please. Please cut Zach Ertz, please.
Oh, you can cut Zach Ertz. That's fine. So, guys, I think we did a great job preparing people, but I want to hear from you guys. Put it in the comments what you think. If you're a new subscriber, click subscribe, ring the bell. You'll get the notifications. We do waiver wire every week. Football, obviously, the season's winding down, but basketball is just starting. We're going to start our waiver wire in that, and then it'll go straight on to baseball. There's no end. We'll constantly be giving you waiver wire information. Thank you for watching, everyone. And it was a pleasure, Andrew and Ross.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I love talking fantasy sports with you, cowboy.